Thank you everyone for joining us again. If you enjoy the story, please hit like and subscribe. It really helps us out. A small insect dives off a limb, spreading 6 rainbow-colored wings above its tubular body, dashing from side to side in a dance with the air. Dipping and weaving under fallen logs and combing over the damp grass below. Suddenly, a tiny hand seeds up from the grass and snatches the flying insect. "Gotcha," Methorns says as he throws the struggling meal into his mouth, slopping his lips, as if he wanted to alert the whole forest of his breakfast.
"Why, you little..."
A voice creeps out from the patch of greens. Methorn snickers in excitement, coughing out a wing that tickles his upper lip, causing him to shudder and fluff his green fur. 2 large, glistening eyes appear out of the brush behind. He's blissfully licking his fingertips when he stops and blurts out, "You know, Rouse, if you practice a little more instead of toying with your gadgets all the time, the diddlefly would be in your stomach right now." Tossing a glance and smirk towards the half-hidden Minikan, who meets his gaze narrow-eyed with contempt. Rouse glances down at his tool belt and retrieves a small device, no bigger than a pebble, with 3 small grooves across its surface. Looking back up, he sees a group of diddleflies fluttering above. With a simple flick, he sends the device overhead. The air fills with static and the sound of electricity as Methorn squeals and dives to the ground, rolling as if he was set ablaze. After promptly raising back to his feet and brushing himself off, he scoffs. "You know, a little warning wouldn't kill ya. You nearly scorched my fur." Rouse casually walks over and retrieves his device, stowing it back into his tool belt, along with a plunder of diddleflies littering the ground. Stuffing 3 into his mouth, he mutters,
"Maybe if I practiced.
A few wings still fluttering through his crooked teeth as he shows a seminal grin. Suddenly, Methorn catches wind of a familiar scent. I recognize that smell." Hopping on a stump and spinning around in a complete circle, sweeping the area.
"Yeah, crispy dillyfly in the morning,"
Rouse states, his inadept senses not picking up the smell over the burnt takings. Methorn's eyes widen and dilate in terror as his pivot ends, and he now looks past his furry friend. Mouth open, hand raising, and trying to speak, he manages to mutter one word. Aru. Rouse, mouth now agape as the sky itself, slowly turns around and spots ambient purple eyes emitting from under a cloaked veil, brandishing an amber blade on the branch in the tree above. As if riding the wind itself, the figure dives down, landing on the base of the tree, anchoring the momentum and redirecting it into a blinding blitz. Covering the 5-meter distance in a flash, it severs Rouse in 2 like running its hand through water, still murmuring as his upper half hits the ground. Methorn falls backwards, scrambling in a panic, fumbling towards his tool belt as the humming blade rises from the mangled pieces of the Minikan. The blood splatters into a boiling mist, filling the air, sizzling on impact with Methorn's face. The assassin moves with great speed, barely visible as he pursues. With a wince, Methorn's hand slams down, blade descending upon it. Light explodes out in an expanding sphere, a response to the omitted energy. The meeting of forces sends the Aru flying back into the base of the tree he leapt from. A compact force field generator. If Rouse hadn't given me one before we left, Methorn thought. One of the many inventions Minikans have come up with over the generations, the CFFG has proven life-saving on more accounts than could ever be recorded. As the Aru stands, its cloaking field flickers like a light about to burn out, exposing its body to the world. 2 large fingers with an oversized thumb grasp onto a humming blade, a lean but muscular body structure half covered by a weathered poncho, with dull yellow skin engraved with noticeable patches of blue. Its braided beard whips back and forth in the wind as it scans the area with piercing purple eyes. Focusing on where the Minikan was, the force field dissipates with no creature in sight. Sweat beads down its brow, leaking over emotionless eyes, the 2 suns beaming down with their scorching gaze. It combs through the trees and tall grass and attempts to spot the prey. Dead silence, but only for a moment. The Oru's ear twitches in anticipation as a twig breaks several meters to its backside. In one fluid motion with fury and bloodlust, it spins and hurls the amber blade into the brush, meeting a sharp squeal and rustling bushes. Simultaneously, his eyes shift as it considers a new interruption. With no chance to react, arms are restricted to its side as an expanding bola connecting chain shimmering envelops the Oru, slamming it into the ground as it hisses in rebellion. Methorn exposes himself from the brush, walking forward with pain and anger in his eyes, patches of burnt flesh peppering his face. "You bastard! What is a slave of the shadows doing here?" he asks, lifting his hand slightly, now hovering over his tool belt. "I will not ask twice." Struggling to break free, the bola constricts further, slowly collapsing the lungs of the abomination.
Time is now. The final reckoning rises in the hearts of the eternal flame. The amber core sings its hymns of chaos, and the worlds will sleep.
Methorn tilts his head to the side, shifting his weight, trying to comprehend the cryptic message. "How about something that doesn't sound like complete bullshit? What do you want?" It hisses as Methorn notices a blinking light on the inside of the Aru's cowl. Damn it! With the press of a button on his belt, the bullet restricts in return, slicing the Aru into pieces on the ground. Running over to inspect what remains of the foe, the device beeps in succession. "This is a beacon. Damn! Why is this happening? I must return home." Unable to waste a moment, he drops to all four legs, scurrying through the underbrush, out of sight. 4 sets of glowing eyes, traversing the treetops, appear just moments later. The unpredictable terrain dissected by Methorn's normal pathways, with all his force running, wind blowing his ears and fur backwards, eyes squinting from the pressure. The foliage opens up 10 meters ahead, the bunkered hut just out of sight. Panting heavily, pushing harder and faster, he breaks out into the open. Yells Methorn's son, Seto, an adolescent still not old enough to take part in hunts yet with his father. "Get inside now!" he screams, meeting a confused look from the boy.
What's wrong?
Interrupting the question and picking up the child, closing and sealing the bunker's doors. "Take Seto and get back into the safe tunnels," he says, eyes bold and glistening from the overflow of emotion. Sonda, Methorn's wife, brushes her hand against his scorched fur and burnt flesh.
"Are you okay? What happened? Where is your brother? Where is Rouse?"
she asks with a caring, concerned look.
"Uncle Rouse is coming!"
Seto exclaims. Tears well up in Methorn's eyes. He hasn't even had a second to mourn the loss of his older brother, the reality not even sinking in fully at this very moment. He didn't. Why? Damn it, why? The thump seemingly answered by an array of hissing moans. In his haste to make it back home, Methorn neglected all means of being silent. He has effectively led the Aru, responding to the beacon, right back to his home. "We have to get out of here now. Get into the safe tunnels. Make your way to the war cache. I will be right behind you," he states, pulling himself out of his mournful daze once again, rising to his pawed feet. Knowing this was no game, Sonda grabs the boy and their essentials, heading deep into the burrowed tunnels in the back of the bunker. Shadows encase the hut as Methorn grabs 4 discs, each 14 centimeters thick, with a glowing amber stone imbued in the middle, placing them on his belt. He throws 2 strips of rope laced with amber on the ground in front of the entranceway. "Rouse's hut is through the first tunnel on the right. I should be able to make it in no time at all," he thinks to himself, grabbing 3 more strands of laced rope and making haste into the dark tunnels. "It should take them some time to get in. Please let it be enough." Kicking up dirt and clouds of dust as he banks to the right, running on the side of the wall, not losing any momentum with his efficient stride. The dim light ahead alerting him of his upcoming destination, sliding sideways in anticipation of the opening. The hut ahead littered with mechanical equipment, the buzzing of exposed wires filling the air. Rouse was always the tinkerer, more interested in gadgets and gizmos. Methorn, however, always enjoyed a more natural approach, honing his instincts and body, learning to use his environment to his advantage. His eyes darting around the room with intent, landing on a pair of gloves in the adjacent workshop. That's it, thinking as he makes his way over and retrieves the gloves. A dark platinum in color, lined with black, armored up to the elbow, an amber stone habituated in the palm of each hand. The amber-hued stones give amazing abilities to devices depending on the frequency or vibration placed upon them. The Minikan race itself incredibly advanced due to the high concentration of amber stone fragments on their world, Skanture. There was no better time than now to start taking full advantage of what was around him, all the things he used to bicker Rouse for scratching in the back of his mind. His brother was a genius inventor, chastised because his inventions were deemed warlike in nature. The civilization as a whole deciding that making weapons would attract war. Rouse didn't think it would matter. It seems he was right. Replacing his handguards with the gauntlets and grabbing a handful of the grooved pebble-sized devices as well, he makes his way back into the tunnels, still clogged with the dust kicked up from before. His second eyelids closed, forming natural goggles as he barrels through. The loud sizzling of skin informs him of the Aru's successful entry into the bunker. The turn just ahead, a set of gleaming purple eyes, body covered in dust, blocking the way. 3 glowing claws protrude from each finger as it lowers its stance in preparation to intercept the darting Methorn. Twisting his momentum, tail high, forelegs sprawled out as to not lose his balance, he retrieves the bull at his side, now just 3 metallic spheres in the formation of a triangle in a disc from his belt, whipping around and throwing both simultaneously. The bola high, now liberated from their magnetic hold, disc low, amber stone aglow, lighting up the dusty tunnel, further hindering vision. The Aru's right hand, raising in protest, batters the whistling bola away as the disc lands in between his feet. Activating with a deep vibration, the Aru is pulled to his knees, surrounding debris being ripped towards it. A gravity intensifier, useful for securing items, homes, and, well, enemies. Methorn thinks to himself, remembering the ramblings of Rouse. He feels the tug of gravity on his own body as he closes the distance, Aru now chest down, encased in a pile of dirt. The hissing assailant struggling fiercely to break the hold. Running up the left side of the wall on all fours, Methorn leaps down towards the center of the pile with all of his might. Landing with 40 times his own weight, the air leaving the Aru's lungs is audible and satisfying. As Methorn's body fully retracts, he strains for a jump, deactivating the disc, sending him vaulting forward. Rolling as he hits the ground, head turning, the Aru erupts from the mound of debris, hissing with malice. Taking stride in retreat and commanding the bola to return with whistling haste, the Aru hits the ground once again in evasion. Methorn snatches it from the air without losing the rhythm of his stride and presses forward harder. This whole community is connected by the safe tunnels, each outer bunker hut around the base of their great mound. 25 meters to the top, the mound formations are like a nail being pulled from its hold. Cliffs nearly straight up and down. Methorn's plan to get to the ward cache is in hopes others are alive and have made it there as well. It lies in the center of the mound, a tall and wide opening like a silo, metal bay doors enclosed overhead. We just need to get to my ship and I can get them away from this. Heart pounding as the thoughts race through his mind, zigging and zagging through the tunnels as fast as he can, knowing his trail will be easily followed. tossing the electrifying strands of rope along the ground as he runs, saving the last for the connecting junction. 5 separate tunnels converge into a wide opening, 2 sealed metal doors blocking the entrance to the cache, forcefully hitting the wall, inputting the code to open the door. The red glow making his heart sink. They locked it down. Pressing the intercom and pounding on the door, he yells, "Sonda, let me in, it's me!"
It's okay, Methorn. They promised no one would get hurt.
A voice replies back.
Brax, is that you? Where is my wife? Open the door.
Methorn's sentence finishing as a painful howl and electric sizzle echo through the tunnels, though only big enough for them to fit in a single file line. That and his few traps will only slow them down so much.
God damn it, Brax, open the fucking door right now.
Pounding furiously on the door as he screams.
No one ever trusted me. I only planned on taking a little. They paid enough to buy a whole mountain for the location of the mine.
Brax responds, door unmoving.
Rouse is dead, Brax. They killed my brother. Whatever you've been promised is bullshit. You are a traitor.
Patience, a distant friend of Methorn's now.
Good boy.
Methorn takes a step back in confusion, looking over his shoulder quickly, the echoes getting ever closer. The red glow turns green. A mechanical whine fills the room as the door opens. Like an angel, Sonda stands in the omitted sunlight, bay doors open above. Running to embrace his wife, Methorn breathes a deep sigh of relief.
I thought I lost you too. Where's Seto? Is he okay?
He asks, breathing heavily.
You're a mess. He's on the ship, sleeping,
she says, stroking his face.
It's almost prepared for takeoff. I saw Brax locking down the doors. Snuck up behind him and heard what he said. Knocked him clean out.
A smile exchanging between the two.
More and more each day I'm reminded why I love you so much,
Methorn says as he gestures towards the ship. They make way in a hurry, the tunnel they came from illuminating in a series of flashes.
We have 2 minutes, not much more or less.
The words exchange without a glance, 2 other ships firing up, housing other escapees. Sonda leading the way up the ramp vessel, Methorn follows right behind. The small ship, like all the others, was shaped similar to the end of a trident, 3 sharp ends protruding out, a dark platinum in color. The ramp leads to the central bay, seating up to 8 passengers. To the back, 4 beds sitting inside the wall, 2 pairs stacked on top of one another. They make their way to the cockpit in front. Sonda takes the controls, being quite the pilot herself.
It's going to be just a minute before we can get airborne.
The brief pause causing Methorn to follow her gaze. They are here, he states, looking across to the metal doors, eyes resting on 3 Aru. Brax impaled, amber blade sizzling as it exits the lifeless body on the ground.
Oh my god,
Sonda says, turning her head away from the gruesome scene.
You have to take Seto and get out of here,
Methorn tells his wife, her gaze sharply meeting his.
We are not leaving you here to die. What are you talking about? You can't leave us. Think about what you are saying.
Desperation in her voice. Listen to me, please, Sonda. They are not going to just let us leave. I have to distract them. I will be okay and know the transmission codes for the ship. You'll hear from me in no time, I promise. Brandishing a kiss on her brow as he moves to exit the cockpit. Do not wait. Start takeoff immediately. I love you, he says, turning back momentarily.
And you. Don't keep us waiting.
Tears welling up in her eyes as she tries to smile and turns back away. Before descending the ramp, he looks back at his son, still sleeping peacefully in a bed.
I love you, buddy. See you soon,
he says, now focusing forward down the ramp. Rounding the corner on all 4s, he spots the 3 Aru, 10 meters away, one entering a ship as screams echo out into the silo-like structure. Moving like a bolt of electricity, he scales the vacant craft ahead, somersaulting off, arms spread, exposing the grooved devices in his hands, tossing them down towards the unaware foes. Both Aru notice the flying Minikan at the same time, all too late as the devices bounce off the ground next to them, extending out in a flash of crackling light. The electrocution following enough to knock one of them unconscious, taking the brunt of the shock, the other momentarily stunned as Methorn lands on the ground, skidding, in full stride before the slide ends, closing the distance at an angle to the stunned Aru. Tossing the bola as Methorn lines up with his enemy, wrapping around the still stunned Aru, retracting instantly and leaving it in pieces on the ground. He turns to the right, spotting his ship slowly rising up. They just need a little more time, Methorn thinks to himself, a shimmering distortion catching his eye. Facing the anomaly, light reflecting at odd angles, bobbing up and down, amber glow emits. A cloaked Aru slices towards the upper torso. Methorn ducking his head under just in time, his tail exposed, sliced in half with effortless motion. Searing pain and a slight loss of balance immediately noticeable. No time to waste, scurrying backwards, facing his opponent as he swipes and thrusts towards the retreating Minikan. Grabbing the bola from his side, he tosses it at the encroaching nightmare. Swiped away with ease, the Aru is not deterred. The act slowing Methorn down enough for the remaining distance to be closed. Amber blade ascends into the air, ready to deliver oblivion. Reaching his hand up as if in a plead for mercy, the blade begins its descent. Bola ripping through the air meets Methorn's hand with force enough to slide him out of the way just in time, rolling to his knees and releasing out the 3 remaining gravity discs, the Aru's blade still embedded in the steel floor. Upon the disc's activation, the wing overhead is ripped clean from the ship, crushing the foe into a paste on the ground. The disc deactivates as Methorn looks up over at his ship, ascending along with a smile on his face. They are safe. That's all that matters. A mechanical wind across the hangar pulls his attention away. 4 more Aru step into the hangar as Methorn's heart sinks into his stomach, taking stride towards the dire situation unfolding. An electric pop sounds from the center Aru, hands circling in hypnotic fashion. 3 blue lights dance in the air until they become one, forming a large pulsating sphere. Arms outstretching as the orb begins pursuit of his ship. Damn it, I've got to do something. Throwing the bola in desperation with all of his might, the speed a mere crawl compared to the orbs. Feeling helpless as a child, his terror-ridden eyes follow as the sphere of destruction closes in on everything left that he loves. No. The orb connects with the ship with a blinding explosion. Bits of debris rain down from above. Tears welling up in his eyes as his hands raise. Gauntlets saturated with energy force his wrists together, palms forward. A radiant beam of energy, a meter across, rushes forward, obliterating everything in its wake. Methorn's eyes close, and he collapses from exhaustion. Thank you everyone so much for listening. Hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell to be notified of weekly uploads. We really hope you enjoy this journey you take with us. For those of you that made it this far, I appreciate you. And if you wouldn't mind, leave a comment down below letting me know your favorite part of the story, or maybe some things that made you really feel immersed in the story. Any feedback is greatly appreciated.